the week, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to be with you. Thank you for joining us in the garage for another podcast and posting for the Court of Public Opinion. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. And don't forget Friday, when we'll have an opportunity to have a look at some of these stories. And when I say have a look at some of these stories we're doing during the week, getting your input is what I mean, where you'll be able to ring us and talk to us about what you think. Lots of interesting stuff. For example, tactless Biden, President of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, he's not without his gaffes, is he? Good, he was in Vietnam. Worse still, he was in Saigon. No, he was in Hanoi. That's even worse. And he said, "Good evening, Vietnam," which was going back to the Robin Williams anti-war movie and the song. I don't know how they received that. A sleepy Joe Biden risked upsetting his Vietnamese hosts, North Vietnamese, communist Vietnamese hosts, with quotes from the Robin Williams movie, "Good morning, Vietnam," when he seemed to think that it was a song rather than a movie and a little piece of history. Anyway, it is what it is. The Tories in the UK, you remember we talked about this because the Court of Public Opinion here in the garage has been going. Pete, how long have we been going? 2 years or 3 years or that? I can't remember. But we were certainly talking about it at the time of Brexit, and I was talking about it on the radio show leading up to Brexit. I'm not sure whether I got sacked before Brexit or Brexit came along before I got sacked. I can't remember. But anyway, I always said, I can't imagine why a great country like Britain, Great Britain, would possibly succumb to being a suburb of Brussels and being told by a bureaucracy in Brussels how bananas should be bent or avocados should be peeled or ridiculous. But most importantly, of course, it was about immigration. Effectively, England had lost its control of the borders. And it can happen here too. Oh, absolutely. It happened in 1788 for the Aboriginals. It can certainly happen here at any time. Anyway, the Tories are jubilant as Emmanuel Macron, the French president, his humiliation is proof that voters were absolutely right when they went for Brexit. Exclusive. He said, this is the French president, they have championed the comments made by the French president because he said he recommended to the French people that the customers of the French banks invest in UK, invest in the United Kingdom instead of the French banks or the European Union French banks. I don't know how that's going to go down. Voice referendum polling. I pulled that off just before I came down to the garage. New polls show support for the referendum has slumped to new lows. Voice to Parliament has slumped to new lows, with every state except Tasmania poised to vote no. And I think this is the point, ladies and gentlemen. This thing has got to be buried so decisively that it just never comes back, because it is significantly dangerous, as and I don't want to bore you with it, I really don't. But I can't remember in all my years of broadcasting anything more important than this. We cannot allow this thing to even have the slightest hope of life, because it will be the end of this country as we know it, and that will be to the chagrin of white Australia and black Australia. Because black Australia, quite frankly, doesn't know how they have been activated, weaponized by these people. Anyway, let me come back to it. I will hopefully not bore you. Hopefully not. But I do want to inform you, if I can, from this little garage in South Australia, which remains above the media, because I look at the media around Australia and I see people who are either, number one, incompetent, two, perhaps blind, or so compromised or prejudiced that they cannot report stuff that we talk about impartially. When I say impartially, I mean I'm not impartial in the sense that I proclaim what I believe. But the media seems to be trying to skate over this. We don't want to be seen to be racist. We want to embrace everybody. We can't offend anybody. I'm sorry, that is not the role of the media. Sometimes you have to offend people. I saw an article by Hugh Remington. I knew him back at Channel 10, I think it was. Years ago, many years ago. He was talking on the subject, or writing on the subject of Qantas. This whole Qantas Qatar thing is really worrying the journalist class. And it's also worrying the citizenry. But for some strange reason, it isn't worrying the politicians. No, they're away swanning. Oh, it'll go through to the keeper. The Labour Party Senator Tony Sheldon, who used to run the Transport Union, he was grilling Alan Joyce. You may have seen it. It was a Senate inquiry, and he got stuck into this frequent flyer points or credits stuff. Now listen to this. I find this fascinating. Qantas and Jetstar admit the total flight credits that will expire on December 31 is more than $500 million. $500 million. Now that's approximately 360 million for Qantas, 100 million for Jetstar, 50 million for overseas customers. That's an awful lot of money. But here's the wrinkle. Here's the wrinkle. Unclaimed money becomes profit. Profit for Qantas. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? You don't claim, they get. I know I've often heard it said that the frequent flyer division for Qantas was probably the most lucrative part of the business. Money for jam. What was that line, Pete?
I can't read your mind. Give me a hint.
Money for free, no, money for jam and the chicks are free.
Money for nothing and chicks are free.
Money for nothing and the chicks are free. Yes, I get it. I get it, but then again, of course, I don't get it. Anyway, it's interesting, isn't it? And in fact, on Friday, when we're doing our live streaming show, jeremycordo.com from 9 o'clock, 3 hours live, just like a radio station, I want to talk to you about these frequent flyer points, because I don't altogether get it. You know, I've got a credit card and things get put on the credit card. Pete, do you do that? You get points?
No, I haven't taken up any of those things. Well, you know, I have flybys, but I haven't had any rewards from it. I don't know.
No, this is the thing. I think we need to define what the rewards are and how we get them. I
have no idea.
No, I don't altogether get it either. But I know that every once in a while I've been able to go in and buy, you know, I suppose a piece of electrical equipment or something like that using my credits on the credit card. Not credits, what do you call them? Points. Yeah, the points that you add up as you spend money on your credit card, you do get these points. But, you know, for something pretty similar and pretty basic, 300,000 points, and I'm not sure whether that equates to dollars or not, but 300,000 gets you a, you know, $125 piece of kit. Anyway, look, talk to me on Friday about that. I'm a total novice. I would really appreciate your wisdom if you can give us some of your experience on that subject. Of the many messages that I get about and through and with and consequent to the court of public opinion, Facebook postings and podcasts and all, I really want to read you this one, which is from Nikki. Nikki sent me this. She says, I have just read the full Uluru Statement as shown on news.com.au. Now, I think that's good for the newspapers to do that. I think it's bad that they don't have journalists who are going to come out and call it out for what it is. But anyway, let's deal with what we've got on the table. You can go to news.com.au and you can read the entire Uluru Statement from the heart. Anyway, Nikki goes on, or Kiki, I'm sorry, goes on to say, I hope those still undecided about which way to vote in this referendum can now be better informed. I recommend everyone read it. The plan is for Aboriginals to be self-governed, have autonomy, a financial settlement and an extract of percentage of Australia's GDP, which is Australia's wealth, you know, the gross domestic product, the wealth, to which the Aboriginal community contributes 0.04%. They want, as Kiki says here, to have control of water, land, and all decisions. This is not about recognition, it's about control and money. What is it exactly that our Prime Minister is planning? He wants to change the Constitution and claims he has not read the full statement. Well, I just did. And Kiki says, I am not running the country. Is he trying to pull the wool over our eyes? Disgraceful and dangerous. Tomorrow I want to read you the NIAA list of demands, which are certainly remarkable. I'll take those with me to the dining room table on Friday and we can maybe discuss that. But just before I leave you and give you some dates, because I know that on, I think it was Monday, Pete, our court of public opinion went for far too long. It did. I've got to keep our podcasts and our session here, posting to about 15 or 20 minutes. But just let me leave you with this. Senator Marise Payne has announced that after more than 20 years, she will retire. Now, I don't really know very much about the senator. She's held some senior portfolios, I think Foreign Affairs and Defence. I think she was the Defence Minister at the time of the Brittany Higgins scandal. I don't know what part all of that has played, but I never understood why she didn't sack Brittany the morning after she must have, or should have, that is the minister, seen the security report. Well, the talk is now all about who is going to take her place. Someone will be appointed. It's a casual vacancy, so it'll be a party nomination. A similar person from a similar party will be nominated. Warren Mundine is a hot tip. I think he would be good. But of course, there will be the call for a woman, any woman. What is all this business about division and separation? What rubbish. It is not what is between somebody's legs. It is what is between somebody's ears that is important, and qualification for such an important role. Man or woman, just the best person for the job. I really mean that. Can't be too difficult to absorb. What do we got here? We got the September 13th day of the year. The garage door is open and this beautiful spring weather is rolling into the garage. Mind you, it's been a very mild winter. The, bangers on about climate change and all will say a warm winter. No, it's a mild winter, for God's sake. September 13, 1997, on this very day, if you are celebrating it for any reason at all, Elton John releases the single Candle in the Wind. 1997, a tribute to Diana, Princess of Wales, was released in the UK on this day. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? By Hanna-Barbera debuts on CBS in America in 1969. Wow, that far back. 1969. General Motors introduces the first US diesel auto. It was an Oldsmobile 88. That was in 1977. I don't know how successful that was. We got a fly in here, Pete.
Yes.
He's been in here for days.
Yes.
God, must like us. It's a sort of a media freakish fly. God help us. Milton S. Hershey, the American chocolate tycoon, Hershey Chocolates, philanthropist. He was born in Pennsylvania, died in 1945, but born in 1857. Wow. The chocolate will keep you alive. It is good for you. It is. Shane Warne, Australian cricketer, spin bowler, broadcaster, born Melbourne, died 2022, born this day in 1969. Actress Rebel Wilson was awarded $4.56 million in damages in a libel case against Bauer Media in Melbourne, the largest defamation payout in Australia. 2017. I'm tempted to ask what was said, but I wouldn't repeat it. I'd lose my garage. Golly, I wonder why she got so hot and bothered. Anyway, 1965, the Beatles release the single. That was the fly closing the door. The single Yesterday, with a single agreement by George Martin. Just Paul, with a single agreement by George Martin. This day in 1965, the Beatles win their first Grammy, for Best Group in 1964. John Sedgwick, back in 1813, American Major General in the Union Army, who is best remembered for his famous last words, "They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance," before being shot in battle. Born in Cornwall in Connecticut. He died in 1864 in the Civil War, but born this day in 1813, John Sedgwick, American Major General. Don't tempt fate! Couldn't hit the side of an elephant or a barn! Oh dear, you never know. 1955, Swiss inventor George de Mestral is granted a patent for what would become known as Velcro. I thought Velcro was something they invented in the space program. Anyway, 1955 that was. 1931, Marjorie Jackson, Australian sprinter, Olympic gold, 1955. 33rd Governor of South Australia, born in Coffs Harbour in New South Wales. She was the one who gave me my Order of Australia, bless her heart. Good old Marjorie Jackson. Daniel Defoe, English novelist. Robinson Crusoe, born London, England, died 1731, born 1660 on this day. IBM announces System 370 computer in 1970. Ooh, that would have been about as big as a room or a building back then. Claudette Colbert, French actress. It Happened One Night, Texas lady, born Paris, 1903. Buckingham Palace was damaged by German bombs in 1940, and the Queen Mother, who was the Queen then, said memorably, "I can now look the East End in the eye." The East End had a terrible, terrible time. So Buckingham Palace was bombed in 1940 on this day. 1978, the first flight of a McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet. Back in 1978, golly. Mel Torme, the Velvet Fog, as they used to call him. He was born in 1925, and they started to build Hadrian's Wall in northern England in 122 BC. Gee whiz. Thank you so much for viewing the Court of Public Opinion as a Facebook posting, and if you're catching up with us as a podcast, thank you for doing that, and look forward to your company live streaming Friday. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, Peter Clayton, and I'll be back tomorrow. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.